Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go. Hello and welcome to today's DNS session. We are going to have a discussion on today's newspaper, The Hindu, 30 edition dated 16th of August 2021. We shall take one article from yesterday's paper as well. We shall endeavor to discuss these articles from the perspective of civil service examination and try and meet the demand of the exam. The articles that we shall discuss are there on your screen. Time stamping for the same has been provided in the description section. This article is from the business page of yesterday's newspaper. NTPC seeks global EOI, expression of interest, for hydrogen natural gas pilot project. The aim is to do hydrogen blending with natural gas in the city gas distribution program that is being running throughout the country. When hydrogen is blended with CNG, what we get is termed as HCNG, hydrogen-enriched compressed natural gas. It's a blended product, hybrid product. Obviously, you're going to have advantage of both hydrogen and methane. Ground has already been set for HCNG in our country. Ministry of Road Transport and Highways last year allowed for usage of HCNG with 18% mix of hydrogen for the CNG engines. This mix can go very high as 50% or even beyond that. But then that will require recalibration of instruments and redesign of engine. 2, 3, 5% will not require any change at all. There would be no concern even regarding safety. But beyond that, you have to be a little cautious because hydrogen is difficult to handle. But it has been estimated by various studies that if the mix of hydrogen in HCNG remains within 20%, then there will be no need of any recalibration of instruments or the redesigning of engines. UPSC in 2019 prelims examination has asked a question already on hydrogen-enriched CNG. The question had 4 statements. You have to identify the correct statements. We'll come back to discussion once we have completed our discussion. You see, blending of hydrogen with CNG, which is largely methane, is not a new thing. It is being done since 18th century. The coal gas that was used to be produced then and used to light the street lamps was mostly hydrogen and methane. Operating with this mixture is essential because this is a transition phase, the phase that will help us transit from carbonized economy to hydrogen economy. See, to produce hydrogen, you require energy. If you are producing it from non-renewable sources by burning carbon-based fuel, then it's pointless. Although hydrogen in itself is a renewable source of energy, but in the production, if you are already producing many greenhouse gases, then it is pointless to spend these greenhouse gases to produce hydrogen gas, which is a renewable source of energy. So must hydrogen be produced through renewable sources like wind turbines? But wind turbines, they are in remote locations. There are many wind turbine farms, solar cell farms, which are producing hydrogen using renewable form of energy. But these hydrogens are to be used in fuel cells electric vehicles or standalone fuel cells for other purposes. But these end-use equipments and the source, they are far apart. Both the production end and the user's end have become a reality. But to make it a normality, a normal thing for our daily life, we need a distribution network. And these distribution networks are damn costly. So the idea here is to produce and distribute hydrogen using the CNG network which is already present. It is not very intensive in our country, is being built, but in other countries like US, the CNG network is intensive. And if you can mix hydrogen and pump hydrogen through the same network, then you're itching closer to hydrogen-based economy without getting restricted by high infrastructural cost. Now you can use the mixture of hydrogen and methane in 2 ways. Either you can use the mixture itself as fuel, or at the receiving end, you can separate hydrogen out of methane. And that separated hydrogen can be used as a pure hydrogen fuel. But the mixture of hydrogen and methane is the testing ground for transiting to completely hydrogen-based economy. Because complete hydrogen-based economy will require recalibration of instruments and engines. For instance, hydrogen has very high fluidity. So the gas meters, which is presently used for methane, won't work for pure hydrogen. The safety concern for hydrogen is multifold more than methane. So an infrastructural beef up is required. But to make the ball rolling, you cannot wait for billions and billions to be invested in infrastructure for hydrogen-based economy. We can make the transition slow and gradual. At the end of the networks, we can have separation chambers that will extract hydrogen from methane, and from there it can be used as a pure hydrogen fuel. And in the meanwhile, more funds can be raised, more researches can be done for building an infrastructure that will ensure viability of hydrogen as a fuel, considering all the safety concerns. So here are the reasons why we are moving towards blending of hydrogen with methane, making it hydrogen-enriched CNG. First of all, let's talk at this end. The blending will make it viable for many renewable energy facilities, many wind farms, many solar panel farms to produce hydrogen, store it, and deliver it through a pathway across a broad range of geographical locations. This pathway is the network of CNG, which is already in place or in the process of being made in many cities in India. If we talk at this end, mixing will also help in delivering hydrogen, which is produced in remote location, to downstream end users, such as fuel cell electric vehicles, or for any other purpose with standalone fuel cells. These 2 points are concerning hydrogen itself. But when hydrogen will be mixed with methane, methane is not going to lose. It's only going to gain because of additional property that will be added to the mixture by adding hydrogen. It will result in greening of natural gas. Adding hydrogen will reduce the emission of greenhouse gas emission to the proportion it has been added. If it is added to 18%, it will reduce the greenhouse gas emission by 18%. But over and above that, it will improve the combustion property of hydrocarbon fuel as well. Hydrogen has low ignition energy. It has high reactivity, high diffusivity, high burning velocity. It has high octane rating. So it will help in efficient burning of the fuel. And you know, carbon monoxide is produced because of inefficient burning of fuel. It is said that if hydrogen is mixed to around 18-20%, then carbon dioxide emission will be reduced by 70%. See, presently the hydrogen infrastructure, the refueling stations for hydrogen, etc., is not ready yet. So we cannot have full-fledged hydrogen vehicles on our road. And as we have talked about, the problem is supply chain management of hydrogen fuel. The cost of construction of dedicated hydrogen pipeline system would run into billions and billions because of very high safety concern for this fuel. So as we have talked about, the solution to the problem would be to be in transition phase for some time, where hydrogen is blended with methane. This blending can go as high as 50% if the engine design allows so. Blending is also not much of a concern because the end use system does not need modification. If for household usage, if hydrogen is being used for boilers or stoves, or even for industrial usage for power generation, appliances does not need to be recalibrated or modified. Consider the supply line just like the electricity grid, where it would not matter the electricity being pumped into the grid has been generated by renewable source or non-renewable source. The end use system can just remain the same. Blending of hydrogen with methane, CNG, is pitched even further because of the reason that the switch from pure CNG to hydrogen-enriched CNG is inexpensive. According to the report submitted by Environmental Pollution Prevention and Control Authority last year to the Supreme Court, the cost that consumer has to pay for HCNG will only increase marginally compared to CNG. At that point in time, consumers were paying rupees 42 per kg for CNG. That will increase marginally to rupees 43 per kg in case of HCNG. So then why not? Why not blend hydrogen with CNG when it is a first step towards a future hydrogen-based economy? But there are certain concerns. The blending of hydrogen and CNG requires energy-intensive steps. Niti Aayog and CII came up with action plan for clean fuel. In that action plan, while recommending the use of HCNG, it was noted that physical blending of CNG and hydrogen involves a series of energy-intensive steps, and that will make HCNG more expensive than CNG. But recently, IOCL has developed a technology that does away the need for series of physical steps. It has developed a process called as compact reforming process, which directly produces hydrogen CNG mixture from natural gas in a single step. So the cost of production significantly lowers down. That's why in the previous slide we saw that EPCA has submitted in the Supreme Court that the cost will increase only marginally. But here is something that you must note. When you are producing hydrogen CNG mixture from natural gas, it will increase the value of CNG. But if I want hydrogen alone to be used, then this hydrogen has to be separated out of the mixture. That separation will cost. Additionally, in this process, hydrogen CNG mixture is produced from natural gas itself. What if I want to promote hydrogen usage? Hydrogen not to be produced from natural gas, but from other renewable source. What if I want to produce hydrogen renewably using wind turbines and then add it to CNG? Because the idea is to get rid of natural gas, and if you keep producing hydrogen from natural gas, you are never going to get rid of it. So in long run, when we really get serious about decarbonization of the economy, getting rid of CNG, and depending only on hydrogen, in that transition will be a little costly. Hydrogen, has a broad range of conditions under which it can ignite. So safety is always a concern. That's why HCNG has not been allowed for four-wheelers or autos yet. It has only been allowed for buses. Hydrogen has more mobility, it has more permeation rate, it has more volume leakage rate. These technical parameters have to be looked into when we decide upon the blending proportion. We have to see if our meters, our valves, our pipes will still work with that percentage of blending. If we increase the blending proportion, then the end-use system will not be good enough. Previously, we saw that end-use system does not have to be changed if that is within 20%. But if you are going to increase it above 20%, taking to the level of 50%, finally aspiring to make it 100%, then everything has to be changed at end usage level. That's why it is suggested and understood that change will be gradual. There is an article in today's newspaper titled, Bihar Deputy CM says a state can hold caste-based census. This issue of caste-based census has been making round in newspaper for quite a while. It obviously becomes an important topic for your mains exam. Let's look at the brief history of caste data in census in India. And then we'll come to the point as to should it be included in the census of 2021. The first synchronous census happened in 1881. Before 1881, census was conducted between 1865 to 1871. The data was released in 1872. But ever since 1881, census were conducted every 10 years in a synchronous manner, meaning simultaneously in the entire country. But census data always had few questions on caste. The purpose to include the data on caste was mischievous. The aim was to divide the society and conquer. However, properly socio-economic caste census was done in 1931, and this was the last time census had data on caste. In 1941, caste-based data were collected, but it was not published. So the era of caste-based data through census was over in 1931 itself. In 1941, the Census Commissioner said that the time is past for the enormous and costly table as part of central undertaking, meaning they were not to collect and release the caste-based data through census anymore. Perhaps the purpose was already fulfilled. The Union of India, after independence, decided as a matter of policy to not include the caste data population-wise other than that of SCs and STs. This stand of central government is unequivocally clear. Recently, Minister has said on the floor of Parliament that it is a matter of policy to not collect and release caste data through census other than that of SCs and STs. You know the percentage of SCs and STs in India, don't you? How do you know that? Because that is released through the census. So the question of collecting caste-based data is only for OBCs. For SC and ST, it is done already. This was the last one before independence. After independence, all the census that has been conducted since 1951 to 2011 has published data on scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, but the largest caste block, the other backward classes, OBCs, data on them have not been collected and hence not released. So we do not have a proper estimate of OBCs, and we don't at all have proper estimate of subgroups within OBCs. Things continued till 1979 when Mandal Commission, formerly called as Socially and Educationally Backward Classes Commission, suggested expansion of affirmative action, reservation, to include OBCs. But then the last updated data on caste or OBCs was that of 1931. And as per the census, 52% of Indian population were OBCs. But there were demands for detailed data collection of OBCs and subclasses within OBCs. 10 years after release of Mandal Commission in 1990, The VP Singh government decided to implement the Mandal report. Government introduced a new class, other backward classes, and 27% reservation were given to OBCs. But the demand was of greater reservation. But since the official numbers were not available in the updated form, this could not have been done very objectively. So, since then, the demand always has been there to include OBC data in the decennial census. In 2010, UPA government decided to go for a full-fledged socio-economic caste census. However, after completion of the census, only economic data of urban and rural population were released. The caste-based data were withheld. There are various reasons for this. There were opposition by certain states also. There was not much confidence in the process of data collection. Now, with the arrival of time for census of 2021, a fresh demand has appeared to include the caste data in the census. Let's talk about the benefit of doing a caste-based census. The last caste-based census was done in 1931. So a caste-based census now, after around 90 years, will do good in understanding the changes that has happened in our society, because caste is a reality in Indian society. It's a way of life. We must know about our reality of existence. It will also do good to the cause of understanding changes that has happened in the society in last 1 century. Caste-based data will also help one understand the caste-based political decisions. And unnecessarily, all political decisions will not be muted as caste-based political decisions. Caste-based data will objectively identify the backward and downtrodden classes. Then government programs, schemes, and policies can be directed better for these downtrodden classes. How will you follow the policy of unto the last, Antodaya, unless you know the last person in the society, the most downtrodden class? Indian government actually runs many programs based on caste. There are various schemes and initiatives for backward classes. So it's paradoxical that the central government has a stated policy stance of not collecting and releasing caste-based data. Caste-based data will also touch upon the elephant in the room, reservation policy. It will help rationalize it. We have various evidences to show that marginalization, backwardness, does not happen in few castes exclusively. It has been suggested by some data that because of rising rural wages, particularly construction wages, and social security schemes run by government, many Dalits and also many OBCs are now in better position. National sample survey data also shows that poverty persists among forward castes as well. National Council for Applied Economics conduct India Human Development Survey. According to the survey, 56% of Dalit children aged between 8 and 11 cannot read. But the same is true for 32% of forward caste and 47% of other backward classes. You cannot enforce the principle of equity unless you know the differences in the society. The 50% reservation cap that has been imposed by Supreme Court is also considered arbitrary because there is no data to back this up. Recently, people have been demanding reservation for their own community, like Jats in Haryana, Marathas in Maharashtra, Kaktus in Andhra Pradesh, Gujjars in Rajasthan, Patidas in Gujarat. All these reservation demands can either be met or rejected very objectively in a transparent manner if we have caste-based data. Also, within OBC, it's necessary to ensure equal representation. And that is why National Commission for Backward Classes has urged the government to collect data on various subclasses of OBC in the coming census. See, the question is, if it has so much of benefit, then why it is being opposed? Why the central government does not accept it? Why the central government has a policy of not collecting caste-based census data? Although the government has not given reason for this, but the obvious answer one can think of is that it will strengthen the institution of caste in India. Not that we do not want the institution of caste, but we do not want it to be developed in an exclusive manner. We do not want caste to be seen as a homogeneous classifiable units, where each unit start competing with the other in social, economic, political sphere in an unhealthy competition. The caste-based politics that we see in India might further get promoted. Caste-based politics in India is a reality. Last time, you remember at the time of Karnataka election, the Lingayat issue was raked up. During election time in Haryana, the Jat issues comes to the fore. Similarly, in different regions in India and different states, different caste issues come to the fore at opportune time. And historically, we know the games that were being played using the caste data in the census. It is also suggested by some that the anti-Brahminical movement that started in the 20th century were based on these caste-based census data. So we do not understand very well the dynamics of caste-based census that will play out in the society. And that's why the hesitation is there. But this is an unsettled issue in the Indian polity, and you must have an opinion as to what should be the way ahead. Think about it and put that in the comment section. This is the lead article from today's newspaper. India's fate is tied to the rest of the world. This is what the author has been trying to say, but the author also has presented the opposite view in the article itself. This article is extremely important for you. It is basically a snippet of India's post independence history. Lots and lots of incidents have been mentioned in this article. You have to read it, reread it, and connect them, make a proper notes out of it. And to help you with that, I'll also be doing a small discussion. The author has argued that the past of India has been dependent upon its ties with the world. That's how things have been in the last 7 decades. So the future of India, by extension, is also going to depend on the events and happenings of the world and India's ties with the world. The author makes the argument that since independence, India has been reliant on foreign powers for various things like defense, food security, national security, the issue of immigration, and India has collaborated with many foreign powers on various international platforms. Just after independence, India's defense need was met by US and other Western countries, but very soon, by mid of 1950s, India switched to Soviet Union. For food security, India was severely dependent on US. For the development of industry, for the development of education sector, health sector, India was dependent upon foreign powers. But that's how things are in any ecosystem. The author has argued that all-weather relation of India and Russia was rooted in Indo-Soviet Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation. And the special relation that we have with Bangladesh was because of India's intervention in Bangladesh War of Liberation. And these two relations with Russia and Bangladesh critically affected India's relation with Pakistan. India was always well suited to check and challenge Pakistan because of a strong relation with Russia and also support from Bangladesh in terms of cooperation for countering terrorism. The author also suggests that the external relation has affected positively and also negatively. The foreign powers were always at odds with India when India wanted to protect its interest. Whether it's the case of nuclear non proliferation, whether it's the case of India's decision for intervening in Bangladesh War of Liberation, or India's decision with regard to international trade. It was the 1991 Gulf War that resulted in the balance of payment crisis, and after which India had to open up the economy. The author gives many instances in the article. He also mentions that it was the global financial crisis of 2008-9 that brought India and China together. India saw new areas of cooperation with China, for example, institutional reforms, reforms at WTO and other UN reforms. India and China started cooperating in the area of climate change, with regard to financial lending in developing countries, with regard to fighting the Western hegemony, protecting the sovereignty of each nation. When Western countries started tightening up their purse, India's relation with US and Europe grew contentious. The point that the author is making is that the make and break of relation dependent upon external factors. However, India also has exercised strategic autonomy throughout its development. It was the exercise of strategic autonomy when India took the decision of peaceful nuclear explosion, the decision to annex Sikkim, the decision to confront China over the Siachen issue, having the cheek to confront and challenge China over border issues. It was the autonomous decision of India to intervene in Sri Lanka. It was the autonomous decision of India to intervene in Bangladesh. It was the autonomous decision of India to counter the coup in Maldives. In fact, India has decided which way to go. India has chosen its friends. During the time of Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao, Look East policy was formulated. India's relation with ASEAN got strengthened. India took the decision to establish diplomatic ties with Israel. India had the diplomatic success with China by signing the Border Peace and Tranquility Agreement. India got closer in its military ties with US. And the preparation for the nuclear test also begins during the Prime Ministership of P.V. Narasimha Rao. Taking the baton further, Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee conducted the test in 1998. It was a diplomatic breakthrough that even after conducting the nuclear test when the Western nations were at loggerheads, Still, the relation was normalized within 2 years, and China was brought on table to sign an agreement again in 2003. Taking things further, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh eliminated the barrier to dual use technologies and equipments with regard to nuclear technology. India could jump over the export control regime. And in the process, India's defense ties with US and its allies got deepened. Because of border confrontation and when things escalated from 2019 from the Doklam issue later in the Ladakh in 2020 and 2021, India took the decision to boycott China's Belt and Road Initiative. India could check Chinese investment. India banned some Chinese technology. India maneuvered quite well through the Indo Pacific strategic trade game playing on in the Indian Ocean. India catalyzed the establishment of Quad once again. India brought Australia into the grouping. India has always been very vocal and autonomous on international platforms like UNFCCC, UNSC, WTO, and other world organizations. These are some host of events from the article, but we are looking at it from the perspective of geostrategic autonomy that India has exercised. So, India has been affected by world issues, and India has affected the world events. That's how an organism lives in an ecosystem. Now you see on your screen question for the day. There are 5 events that you have to arrange in the chronological order. The events could be very close to each other, but if you know the exact chronological order, you would understand the strategic decisions that India took at that point in time. You also have on the screen the answer for yesterday's question of the day. Please try to attempt DNS quiz on the ELEARN platform and have a really good evening.